Hey Snowboard Addiction, Tavis here. I'm with a snowboarding specific trainer, Jeremy, and he's going to walk us through a few exercises. Awesome, Jeremy. So I think we're doing a longer workout here. What do you have in store for me?
Yeah, so we're gonna do a good solid pre-snowboard season workout here, working on some of the fundamentals of physical preparation for snowboarding. So we're gonna start with basically a warm-up of mobility exercises. We're gonna move on to more balance and core work, so to prime our muscles, and then we're working on strength and explosivity, which are gonna be super beneficial for snowboarding. So it starts to get more and more snowboard relevant as the workout goes on. Sound good?
Yeah, I know we did like two. We did a shorter version, a medium version. Are we repeating exercises for a specific reason?
Yeah, there's certain exercises that will be repeated for sure, and the reason for that is there are certain ones that are just essential for pretty much all snowboarders, all athletes in general. So each workout is going to incorporate some of the same, but we're adding a little bit of a different flair for variety in this one.
Cool. So like some of the athletes you train, you just have them doing these exercises every time because they're exercises you really need to get dialed in?
Yeah, exactly. There's certain exercises that we just do daily, and it's really what you can do in a week of training or a month of training rather than a day. So workout of the day, changing everything all the time doesn't really teach your body anything. Sometimes you need to repeat and learn things as you work, and your body's the same.
Yeah, just like a trick, it's not one and done. You got that.
Yeah.
Repeat is how you really get locked in.
All
right, let's get into it.
So yeah, basically the first one is going to be cat cows. This one is really essential for your spine. So we're going to be flexing the spine and extending the spine. So we're contracting muscles in the front and the back to allow ourselves to flex. Here we're going to contract the core, the front of the spine, and then flexing and extending. So we want to incorporate our neck into it as well. So when we look up with our extension, and then we go chin to our chest for flexion. So the spine from your tailbone all the way to your head is one long series of bones, and we want to make sure they're all capable of moving, because if there's parts that are stuck, you're going to feel like you can't move naturally on your snowboard, and you're exposed to more risk of injury or sore muscles.
That makes sense.
Let's do 2 more rounds of each position, and then we're going to move on to our next flexibility exercise. And yeah, so now we've worked on our spine. We're going to work our spine in a different way and incorporate the hips. So this one's called World's Greatest Stretch. You're going to be in a push-up position, step forward with your right foot, and then rotate to your right. So opening your chest to the wall beside you. And you're going to step back, step the other leg up, and rotate the other way. So this one is called World's Greatest Stretch, and I wasn't the one that named it, so I'm not tooting my own horn.
We're assuming there's a good reason behind it. Well,
yeah, so it's the world's greatest because we're using lots of different muscles and exposing our joints to lots of different positions. So we're accomplishing a lot of goals at the same time. So here we're rotating the spine, we're flexing our right hip, and the other one is an extension. So we're getting a hip flexor and a hamstring stretch on either leg. And we're also using our core to just stabilize. We don't want to be in a super arched or super extended position. Let's do 1 more on each side, and then we'll switch.
Awesome. Yeah, I love this stretch. I can feel my core getting activated every time I reach my leg back. And I don't feel like I'm over-exerting any of my joints doing this one.
Yeah, we always want to work on our range of motion. We don't necessarily want to go excessive, go crazy hard. Okay? So the next one we're going to do is really doubling down on our hips. So we're going to come into a 90-90 position. Yep, so your hip and knee are at 90 degrees. This hip is open. And we're going to orient ourselves over this front shin. So you can put one hand here, one hand beside your knee. And then you're doing like a mini push-up, reaching your chest for the floor in front of you. So going forward and back. We're always going to be dynamic in our warm-up movements. We always want to move. That's promoting blood flow, getting some joint lubrication to pump through our joints, and we're always building heat and making sure that we're ready to work out. We're not trying to lengthen the tissues right now. That would be more static stretching, holding position, but this one is a warm-up. So this one you should feel in that left glute. It's kind of like a modified yoga movement. The happier our hips are with rotating is basically the happier that they're going to be. If they're not into rotation, they're not going to have proper range of motion, and you're going to potentially have problems with the knee or the back. That's usually what happens if there's problems with their hip. You get knee or back pain.
Both of those things relatively important to maintain.
Yeah, so we never really want to be feeling those. So it's a small movement, but we're getting a good hip stretch. Let's do the other side. So you can do like a break dance move to get around.
So,
And then we're in the 90-90 position again.
so it's a lot like the pigeon pose, but
Yeah, exactly.
I like this a lot more so far because I often find the pigeon pose sort of
Yeah, it
makes
can
me
be too
pinch
much
off.
for some people, and you want to be relaxed. You don't want to feel like all your muscles are contracting to hold strong. So yeah, little push-ups, feeling that right hip on this one, and we're making sure that we're in a good position and relaxed. The muscles are not tensing to hold us in any position.
Yeah, so front knee sort of in line with back knee, or front ankle, I mean.
Yeah, so thinking about like 90-90 position of our knee, hip, and ankle as well. Yeah, do 2 or 3 more and then we'll move on. Yeah, so the next one is sort of getting into a little bit of core strength at the same time as working mobility. So this one is inchworm. So we're gonna reach down to the floor, walk our hands all the way out to a push-up position, and then maybe we can add a push-up at the end as well for shoulder strength. So you can do a push-up at the end, coming all the way down, keeping your back nice and flat, good, coming up, and then walk your hands all the way back. So in this position here, you should feel your hamstring stretching.
Oh yeah.
You're coming nice and upright. We're allowing our back to be nice and flat throughout. So unlike our cat-cows where we're flexing and extending the spine, getting range of motion, now we're more focused on keeping the spine in a neutral, flat position and avoiding flexing and extending. Because most of the time when we're active and using the muscles, we want our back to be in a neutral position. It's safer. It's not putting you in a position of crunching your vertebrae together or creating pressure on the discs of your spine. So we're just working on real good stability, and then we're also working on shoulder strength, which is relevant for snowboarding because we always need to keep those things happy. Ideally, your shoulders are not going to be used too much in like life or death scenario when you're falling snowboarding, but if it does happen and you do fall in the snow, they need to be robust to be able to take impact, etc.
I've definitely had a few falls where like seasons I didn't train my arms as well, where I really messed up my shoulders.
Right.
Compared to like when I'm strong in the shoulders, I feel like they do me better when I'm slamming in PAL or slamming on a park jump.
Yeah, totally. So that was good. Those are some good push-ups too. So core strength, upper body strength, and flexibility.
Yeah, and this is like all these dynamic exercises, like the slower you do them, the harder they get, hey?
Yeah, you don't want to rush through it. You want to expose your muscles to time under tension. So more time under tension is going to be more effective training for this type of movement within reason. We don't want to be doing it for 10 minutes.
Yeah, we're not doing a push-up challenge here.
Yeah, we're gonna move on now. So we're gonna come down into a side plank. So this one is another go-to for all snowboarders. So this one we're gonna hold for 20 seconds. Your elbows right under your shoulder, your hips are stacked nicely, your feet are stacked, everything is in one nice straight line, and we're strengthening basically the muscles on your side of your body that's closest to the ground. So you're doing a good job of staying stable. There's a modified version where you can do it from your knees as well rather than your feet.
Just like that.
Yeah, you can bend your knees behind you as well.
I also know some people add rotations into.
Yeah, there's lots of variations. You can even lift that top leg, which is hard, especially at the end of your set.
That really adds the extra work in the glutes.
Let's do the other side now. So
I'll try this one with a leg lift and see if we can do it.
So we're gonna come into that side plank position in a nice plank. This would be like the most advanced version.
Yeah, I feel it all through my inner hip.
If that's hard, you bring your leg down. If that's hard, you come down onto your knees, or you do it in little breaks. So do it 5 more seconds. 3, 2, and 1. So again, we're challenging ourselves to hold that neutral position in our spine.
Yeah. Leg up, much more hard.
Nice.
I felt my whole legs trembling back.
Good. So yeah, it's strengthening core and your hips. The last core exercise we're going to do for this one is going to be on your back, and it's called a dead bug. Have you done this before?
Oh, yeah, I have done dead bugs.
So what we're going to do is you're going to lie right down. We'll bring our arms straight up to the ceiling. Our legs are in a good neutral position, 90 degrees. And you're going to extend our one leg forward and our opposite hand back. So it's a little bit of a mind melter the first time, but you've done these before. So extending, coming back to the neutral position, extending the other way. So for this exercise, we're working on keeping our spine in that neutral position. You should feel your abs. If you feel your back working while you do this, think about pressing that low back down into the floor. If you feel like there's a gap between your lower back and the floor, that means you're not controlling hard enough, and we have the resistance of the body weight of your arms and legs to work against. So yeah, you're doing a good job in preventing that. And we're also doing full hip and shoulder range of motion.
So a lot of birds with a stone here.
A lot of moving parts for sure. So let's do 2 more on each side. You also want to be straight elbows with this one. So arms straight up to the ceiling, and working on, while one set of limbs is moving, we're keeping the others really still. So yeah, you're doing a good job with those. Nice. Okay, that's good. So that's our initial, our core work. So you could always repeat that for a more extensive workout. But we're going to move now onto more balance. So what we're going to do with our balance for this workout is we're going to challenge it in a single leg squat position. So you're just doing like a tiny little crouch position. We never want to be knee extended. So just a little squat position. And what we're going to do is try to throw ourselves off balance by touching the floor in front of us, 45 degrees, straight to the side, straight back, and all the way back. So you're doing like a clock, reaching forward, 45, side, 45 back. Yeah. Yeah, so we're always trying to keep everything here dead still and keeping all your spine in a neutral position and working on that athletic position, but we're challenging our balance by reaching forward, reaching to the side, and reaching back. And you can do variations where you do like every hour of the clock, and you can do lots of variations. But yeah, thinking about kind of 30 seconds, and we're not trying to come down too much, we're trying to just hold that position. In a few exercises from now, we're going to work on some single leg squatting, and then we'll work on range of motion.
But basically just try keep that steady.
Holding steady. We're working lots of muscles of our shin and ankle, which need to be strong to keep our ankles healthy in snowboarding, and working on hip and knee balance as well. Let's try the other leg. So yeah, same thing, forward, side, back. So staying nice and stable. If you want an extra challenge with this kind of thing, you could always close your eyes while you do it too.
I'll give that a go.
So that's the
arms are going to need to come into
the good progression.
Kung Fu moves.
Balance exercises are only really beneficial if you're having like those little micro wobbles that you are having. If it's too easy, then you're not wobbling at all and you're not challenging yourself. But at the same time, we don't want to be so all over the place that we're losing our positioning. So we want to be finding that line, basically, where we're challenging ourselves, but we're not going overboard. Yeah, do 1 more each position, and then we'll move on to more strength exercises.
I'm starting to lose my grasp. I gotta open my eyes.
Good. So then you can open them and you can play around with it that way. But yeah, at the end of any balance exercise, you should feel like you have to shake it out basically, because you're working so hard to hold that position. Where if you're snowboarding and you're going down a bumpy run or something and holding that position, it's sort of the equivalent.
Yeah,
right?
or powder, keeping my nose up. I know I often have my legs just seize up on me so
Stuff
bad.
like that. So that's an isometric contraction where we're standing still and contracting our muscles. Yeah, we're working more on strength now. So what we'll do, we've done a lot of stuff in that stationary or forward back position, but like our side plank, we need to work on some lateral motions. So what we're going to do is some side lunges here. So you're going to stand and you're going to go into a side lunge. So we're strengthening this, your left leg right now, and pushing back. You can actually add in a little extra balance with this one. So you can step into your side lunge, push back to find your balance. Yeah, so let's do 8 on one side, 8 on the other, something like that. And what we're working on here is just a purely lateral motion. So our toes always pointing straight forward. We're keeping our hips nice and square to the wall in front of us. And we're always keeping our foot flat. That's the other thing. We are happy with our knees going forward, our knee going over our toes, as long as the heel stays flat. So that's kind of like our baseline, which depends on your ankle and hip and knee flexibility.
Yeah, so not every person's going to be doing this the same way.
Not everyone's going to look the exact same, but the parameters that we do want to work on are keeping the foot flat on the floor.
Okay.
Yeah, do one more and then we'll switch to the other side. Nice. Good.
So snowboarding exercises seem to be generally more dynamic based, trying to work on that range of motion instead of just going and doing max squats all day.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to develop strength at home where you don't necessarily need external resistance. If you're challenging your body to hold just the weight of your body itself in different positions, that's strength. Because we're getting lots of a challenge from different positions. If you're doing exercises at home to make them a little harder as well, you could hold something that's heavy. Grab a big textbook, grab a 4-liter jug of water, fill it up, something like that.
Yeah,
there's lots of ways to progress exercises, but at home, if you're working through some of these things, you always want to start off just your body weight, see how it goes, make sure you didn't have any issues the next day, and then expand from there. Yeah, nice. So those are good side lunges. So now what we're going to work on is some single leg squatting. This is an example of a really challenging exercise with no extra weight. So same thing, we're going to be on that one crouch position. What we're going to do is just do a single leg squat as low as you're comfortable going, tap your heel on the floor, and come back up. So that's a super advanced full pistol squat.
I do a lot of these.
So that's great. It's really a good thing to progress to. At home, this is actually crazy challenging. And if you can even work on the half range of motion, if you put a chair behind you or something like that, you can work on progressing down to a full pistol squat like Taven's here. But yeah, this is really good hip, knee, and ankle strength. And you need a certain amount of range of motion to be able to do full squat like that.
Yeah,
so
I'm
yeah,
at like 6 and I'm...
Let's switch.
Yeah, these are probably the hardest squat exercise I do in my usual training routine.
The other thing is when you're doing stuff like this, doing the left leg and doing the right leg separately. So as opposed to doing like a 2-leg squat, which are good too, we're really testing how that right leg and that left leg are, because as snowboarders, things are asymmetrical and things can be hard to balance right leg strength and left leg strength. Yeah, that's good too. Nice. So yeah, that's definitely the most advanced. If you want to reduce difficulty, you would just do less range of motion.
Yeah, less range. You can even add a chair there so you know where to go and like don't need to worry about falling back.
Exactly.
I've been doing those for a long time for like my fitness challenge. I'm like, if I can do a clean pistol squat, I know my legs are pretty good.
For sure. So the last strength exercise we're going to do before we move on is calf raise to single leg deadlift. So this one Again, working on balance because balance is a huge challenge, right? So we might as well work on it lots in the off season. So we're gonna do our calf raise, come up onto the toes, and then a single leg deadlift. So this one is strengthening more of the muscles of the back of your thigh. The lunges and the squats we did are more for your quad and your glute. This is more for your hamstrings, so the back of your leg. And that can really help with knee safety and injury prevention. We're also working on calf strength, which can help with ankle injury prevention and can stabilize your knee as well. So let's do 6 of them. So good calf raise, good single leg deadlift. When you do your single leg deadlift, you're doing a good job of keeping your torso flat and square and not opening up to the wall beside you, except when I called you out on it.
Trying to like go and keep your like hips hinging.
Yeah, exactly. So keeping everything square. Let's see the other leg. Calf raise, single leg deadlift. If you want a cue for keeping your hips square, you can also put your hands on them, and that will give you a little bit of a cue of where they're at in space. But you're pretty comfortable with staying upright, and you're thinking about being like a long line between your heel and your head.
Yeah, so like I do a lot of balancing and everything, and I'm still needing to use a lot of micro muscles to go and keep myself.
Yeah. Again, we haven't used any external resistance, and it's a strength challenge for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling challenged.
Nice. So you got one more rep left. Nice. Good. All right. So what we're going to move on now that we've done our strength section, again, if you want to expand the workout, you could repeat the exercises 3-4 sets or something like that, but working up to that. Then, so our last group of exercises is more about jumping and landing. So we want to be working on some of those positions, but in a more explosive way. So the first one we're going to do is a single leg broad jump. So single leg, again, coming into that hip, knee, and ankle in a line position. And we're going to jump forward, land softly, stable, and then you can step back. So we'll do 5 on the right leg, 5 on the left. So we're working on being explosive with our takeoff and stable in our landing. To make it more challenging, you would just jump further or jump with a little bit of a higher position. And working on explosive jumping and landing is always going to be relevant, even if you aren't hitting jumps as a snowboarder, because if you hit a little bump in the snow and you're airborne for a second, you're going to have to hold that edge to continue. So working on jumping and landing is always going to be beneficial. Let's see that left leg now.
All right.
Same thing, it's nice to separate right and left leg. That way we're really working on some asymmetries, because it's hard to work on those with snowboarding. And no matter how good you are at riding switch, you're always going to have a little bit of an imbalance between your front and right foot, or front and back foot.
I try to ride switch as much as I can, but sometimes I definitely go favor right foot whenever it's powder, sketchy terrain. So
exactly.
I'm definitely happy to balance out my routine during the off season and during my exercises.
Yeah. So let's do 2 more on that left leg, and we're going to switch to a different jumping landing exercise. So yeah, we've worked now on single leg jumping forward. Now we're going to work on some rotation with 2 feet. So this one, we're just going to basically do a jump and a 180 and a land. So you're going to jump, 180, and land in a soft position. So probably the exercise that looks the most like snowboarding in this workout. Let's do 4 per position. Working on keeping ourselves in a good crouch position, a nice flat back when we land, and making sure that our hip, knee, and ankle are lining up on both sides. So we don't want to feel like we're coming knees together at the top, at the bottom, or knees too far to the outside. That's the tendency. Nice. So yeah, thinking about maybe 4 per side, something like that. Nice. And then for another challenging balance one to finish off, we're going to do 4 per side on this one. We're going to do a single leg jump to the same side, 4 per side. So you're going to go right foot to right foot and right foot back to right foot. So let's do 4 per side. Working on that positioning and challenging your balance. Working lots of different muscles to stay stable. Nice. Do 1 more per side and we'll switch. For jumping landing exercises, it's a good idea to do less repetitions. So we don't want to do 15 in a row. We want to be in a good position, explosive, and then switching sides.
Yeah, so I did 4 there, and I'm like,
that's good.
Already starting to get structurally.
Yeah. So we put jumping exercises towards the end of your workout, but they could also be filtered between some of the strength exercises too. But you do need to have some balance, even if your legs are tired at the end of the day on the snowboard hill. So it is relevant. Let's do 1 more per side, and then that's our workout. Nice. So yeah, I hope the snowboard relevance of some of those exercises makes sense. And yeah, how do you feel?
That was great. Worked my glutes, my hip flexors, my core, all the main muscles I'm trying to work to not get injured snowboarding.
Nice.
Keeping those knees strong. I'm definitely winded. You could add, like you said, 2 or 3 sets of those exercises, but just doing them all back to back like that, like I exercise a pretty good bit, and I'm sweating, breathing. So those awesome exercises, you can do them anywhere, incorporate them into your workouts, and yeah, I'm feeling good.
Yeah. Nice, good job.
Awesome, thanks so much, Jeremy.
No problem.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
And thank you guys so much for joining us for this workout. I hope you learned a thing or two, and I hope you're going to be able to use it to strengthen yourself and achieve those trick goals for this upcoming season.